In the annals of history, the colonial era in Nigeria stands as a stark testament to the oppressive and brutal forces that reshaped nations under colonial rule. The legacy of British colonial rule in Nigeria is etched with the blood of countless individuals who endure unspeakable hardships at the hands of their colonial masters. Among the most haunting chapters of this dark history is a tragic massacre that unfolded on November 18, 1949, when 21 coal miners paid the ultimate price for daring to challenge the oppressive forces of the British colonial regime. The coal mines of Enugu, nestled in the southeastern half of Nigeria, held the promise of prosperity for the British Empire. Yet, beneath the earth's surface lay a story of exploitation, inequality, and a relentless taste for wealth that came at the dire cost of human dignity. In this gripping episode, we are going to dive into the distressing and tragic tale of 21 miners who endured a brutal and merciless massacre. Before we embark on this journey, I beg you to subscribe to this channel, support us with a like, and share this video. Enugu is a region located in eastern Nigeria. It has a significant coal deposit. Due to its abundance of coal, the British colonial government built mines. These mines were operated by a British colonial company, and the miners were predominantly local Nigerian workers from the Igbo extraction. In 1917, the British colonial government of Nigeria opened the Iva Valley coal mine after the Ode mine was opened in 1915. The Iva Valley became the second mine established in Enugu, and it happened to be the setting where the blood of 21 miners was soaked. The Iva Valley mine was run by the British company called the Colonial Company. This company was exclusively run by the British. Beneath the surface underground were the miners who did the hard work. Despite their hard labor, they faced poor working conditions, low wages, and unfair treatment by their British employers. The workers formed the Colonial Workers Union (CWU) between 1947 and 1949. The miners under the umbrella of CWU embarked on a difficult task of galvanizing for increased allowances, better living conditions, and they also demanded new working posts. Sadly for them, all the demands were rejected by the management, and the company was ever ready to use force on the workers. This rejection angered the workers, but despite their anger and frustration, they refrained from going on strike, but instead planned a legal and highly destructive protest strategy that posed a significant threat to the company's interests. On the 4th of November 1947, the miners secretly called a go-slow action. A go-slow action was a hybrid between a strike and staying on the job to avoid being charged with starting an illegal strike. The workers used the Igbo language to communicate to themselves, not to Dantus outright, so that technically they were not on strike. Instead, they would apply minimum effort at work at the slowest rate for the lowest possible output. In this way, they brought down production. This strategy was effective. The company was caught unawares. The ghostly workers openly displayed no protest, no violence, and no verbal exchanges. The company could not lawfully call the police nor sanction the union's leadership. This hugely affected the company as production became very low. This made the British employers angry, and they decided to close down the mines. They began removing the explosives from the mines. While explosives from other mines were removed, those at the Iva mine were difficult to remove as the protesting miners were unwilling to help. Once the explosives were all removed, the mines would be shut down. This was never what the miners wanted. It was at the point of trying to force them to aid in the removal of the explosives that a human tragedy occurred. On 18th November 1949, the massacre happened.
The direct cause being that two mining officials, led by one, H.P. Moran, who was one of the mining superintendent, had asked the workers to load up explosives into a carriage, which they had refused because, as far as they were concerned, this was the duty of surface level workers, not underground miners. So they refused to do this. And the long and short of it was that the police were called in, and a police superintendent, Thomiston, had come and been speaking to the workers and and trying to compel them, and they're still there. There was they refused to budge. Eventually, reinforcements were called in, led by a police officer, F.S. Phillips.
Captain Phillips, without hesitation, ordered his men to shoot. Within minutes, 21 defenseless Nigerian workers were murdered and 51 injured. Their crime was that they dared to demand better welfare, which the colonial authorities interpreted as a political protest designed to pressure them to quit the country. These are the names of those that were killed. This massacre cost the life of 21 miners and over 50 persons were injured. This massacre caused mass protests in places like Port Harcourt, Aba, and Onitsha. The colonial government issued a statement that the workers were armed, had tried to disarm the policemen, and had attempted to seize explosives. But a commission chaired by Dr. Akinola Maja, with Mbonu Ojike as a secretary, found the statement to be a lie. Contrary to what the colonial government said, not one policeman was injured, and not one missile was thrown at them. If the crowd was bent on using force against the police, nothing could have saved them from grave injury, whereas no single policeman was injured. The Enugu Coal Mine Massacre is a tragic chapter in Nigeria's history, highlighting the challenges faced by workers during the colonial period and their determination to demand better working conditions and their rights. This was not an isolated incident, but rather a potent emblem of the systematic brutality and disregard that prevailed during the colonial era. It was a reminder that the quest for liberty and justice in Nigeria was met with guns and bullets, a stark contrast to the promises of civilization and progress the colonial masters had made. This tragic massacre shocked the nation and sparked outrage. It went on to become a symbol of the struggle for labor rights and the broader fight against British colonial rule in Nigeria. It played a significant role in the country's eventual path towards independence, which was achieved on 1st October 1960. In 1996, the late Chief Osita Osadebe of blessed memory released a song that talked about this tragic incident. If you made it to the end of this video, thank you. I'm highly humbled. I promise to be creating insightful and informative content. Join me, let's build this community together.
Mama,